So they're saying that this was preventable. No shit, Sherlock. So this woman here went ahead and beat a 2-year-old to death, killed her own kid, beat the shit out of her own kid until she died. That's a class 1 felony in Colorado. A class 1 felony, which is life in prison. That's the minimum. Life in prison is the minimum upon a conviction. And it's not the first time that we've had parents beat the shit out of their kids. You had that Chris Watts, right? He went ahead and he stabbed his 2 daughters, right? Bludgeoned them or stabbed them to death. You had Demetrius, who got tied to a chair and was just beat up on by his Susan before, by his adopted mother. You had that Michael Miniola or whatever, what his last name was, who was beating the kid in the creek, trying to drown him or something. You had that other woman who was a mother, and they shared custody, and she slapped her 3 times. So it's not the first time that it's happened. It's not the first time that it's happened within a year or two. And you get the maximum sentence in Colorado. You can't beat a child under 12 to death or you get the maximum sentence. It's a class 1 felony. You have 6 classes of felony. Class 1 is the worst. And the minimum is life in jail. Life in jail is the minimum. Pueblo mother is accused of abusing her young son, causing his death. And they're saying it was preventable. Court documents obtained by KRDO. Pueblo police responded to Parkview Medical Center at 4 p.m. on the report of an unresponsive 2-year-old. Detectives received photos showing the child had bruising to their face, leg, chest, back. Well, she was just beating that poor little 2-year-old's body all over the place. Additionally, there was a very large abrasion, blood on the child's lips, swelling, and several scratch marks on their face and chest. Scratch marks. While the child was taken via flight for life to a Colorado Springs hospital, investigators asked to speak to the child's mother, 23-year-old mother, Mithya Latka. Latka is that Estonian. Latka was taken to the Pueblo Police Department. After reading her Miranda rights, Latka began speaking to investigators. According to the affidavit, on the day of her son's death, she had been dealing with him, screaming and crying. She said she became frustrated with her child after they kept pulling on their tracheal tube. So he kept pulling on her throat. She hit his throat, I guess. Latka explained her son had some issues, including need to be fed through a G tube, having a tracheal tube, which helped him to breathe. Up until 2 weeks ago, Latka explained he had been fed exclusively through the G tube. Well, that's interesting. In the affidavit, Latka said around 6 a.m. January 31st, she left the boy in his bed to sleep. Then around 3 p.m., she checked on him and he was blue and unresponsive. She told investigators she called 911 around 3:15 p.m., but it was taking too long, so she tried driving to the hospital. Latka said her car broke down, however, and she called an ambulance, which came and got her from somewhere along Highway 50 near Troy. According to the affidavit, Latka said her son didn't speak, would yell at her and try and pull out his tracheal tube. Latka explained the bruisings on his face were from her grabbing him and turning his head. She said she did this when he was in the corner. Latka said the scratches on his face were likely from her. When asked about the bruising on his legs, she initially said she didn't know. However, she later admitted they may have been or could have been from her holding him down. Latka admitted she tried to tie his hands behind his back with a hair tie while he was in timeout to keep him from touching his tracheal tube. Interesting. So I guess the tube is bothering him. And according to the affidavit, Latka said she popped him in the mouth and would spank him. Latka said she popped him in the mouth and would spank him. Popped him in the mouth. That's punch. You popped him. Latka demonstrated to detectives with the doll how she would wrap him in a blanket. According to the affidavit, Latka laid the blanket on the floor, placing the doll on the top of the blanket. Mithya demonstrated Redacted by folding the doll up in the blanket with the arms down to the side. That's how I do it, only tighter. When asked if it was possible she did it too tight on the day of the incident, Mithya said it was possible. According to the affidavit, Latka said when she was living with her mother, therapist would come to their house to work with him on eating food and something other than milk. However, Latka told investigators she didn't see the purpose of the therapy and didn't continue it when she moved out. In the affidavit, Latka insisted she knew how to take care of her son, saying she had gone to class May 2022 to show her how to take care of his medical needs. That was the last appointment Latka said she took her son to. May of last year, 8 months ago, investigators noted rather than take him for medical care, Latka stated she could do it herself and did not see the point of having trained professionals come to her home to help with her son's care. When asked how often she cleaned and cared for his tube ports, Latka told investigators she'd use wipes and clean the tubes daily, and that the tracheal tube would get cleaned once per week. Detectives also spoke with her roommate. In the affidavit, the roommate confirmed she had witnessed Latka tie his hands behind his back and shove his head against the wall several times. The roommate said that caused his lip to bleed and there was blood left on the wall from where he hit it. Fuck. According to the roommate, Latka was only feeding the child a formula made for the G tube. The roommate also told investigators she had never seen Latka clean or care for the tubes and wasn't sure when the last time it happened. At some point during the interview, a Colorado Springs hospital doctor told investigators Latka needed to make an end-of-life decision for the boy. According to the affidavit, he would not likely survive injuries due to the fact he had been deprived of oxygen for too long and his brain was no longer functioning. Oof. Investigators asked if his injuries were consistent with serious bodily injury, and the doctor stated yes. According to the affidavit, the doctor agreed the child had suffered serious bodily injury and stated he likely died from his trach tube not being cleared, causing oxygen deprivation. Wow, okay. He had a trachea tube, so that's probably why they was removing it. I'm dying. You are clogging up my air passage, and so she's getting mad that she's just getting annoyed. The doctor noted an alarm would have sounded on the ventilator, alerting the caregiver, Latka, of what was happening. This was definitely preventable. The affidavit noted the doctor stated this was definitely preventable. After speaking with the doctor, the affidavit states Latka authorized doctors to not resuscitate her son if he coded again or performed life-saving measures. She did ask doctors to wait before they discontinued life-saving measures until her mother could get to the hospital. At 10 p.m., detectives were notified the child had passed away at the hospital from their injuries. According to the affidavit, a doctor told investigators it was clear to him that the child had been neglected. The child had been neglected for some time and that his cause of death was an injury related to the lack of medical attention and lack of care required by the redacted his care. We're redacting his and her, his caretaker. The doctor also noted a skin condition. What's the poor kid's name? The doctor also noted a skin condition that indicated the issue of neglect had been an ongoing problem. In the affidavit, detectives noted not only were Mithya's actions reckless, she knowingly left her redacted unattended, her boy unattended, despite her knowledge of his medical conditions and daily care needs. Mithya admitted to being frustrated with his behavior, not only physically abusing him, causing bruising and abrasions, but leaving him unattended, wrapped in a blanket and unable to help himself. This action, or rather inaction, is what ultimately led to his death. Detectives learned the child lived in the 2200 block of East 12th Street. They executed a search warrant, found feeding items, medical supplies, the blanket Latka described using to restrain her son. Latka was arrested for child abuse, causing death, and booked into the Pueblo County Detention Center. Spare the rod, spoil the child, huh? Spare the rod, spoil the child. Life's tough, so I'm, kind of thinking of, did she have a good social safety network? Did she have a good support system, this Mithya Latka? She did, not let the head people come into her house. So that was May. Well, she knows how to take care of it. Motherfucker, let them keep coming to your house. Just have another person there. You know, it's real frustrating. I go to Louisville and I reach out to some people just about, men are real tough guys, right? They're not going to let any other man do anything to them, hurt them, say anything bad to them, give them a stink eye or nothing, right? Real tough guys. Oh, if they put their hands on me, then I'll fight. But why is child abuse A-okay? And it was so disappointing. You go to college and you think you're going to come across more enlightened folks, and it turns out not only are the fucking white supremacists beating their kids, but it seems like a lot of other groups of people are beating their kids too. Comedians used to make jokes about Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac. I just saw another comedian on The Daily Show making fun of like hurting kids, and she was just talking about if he had spent $1,000 of her money on some credit card, he did. And we all laugh, and we're all supposed to, but does she say the same jokes about, the ones on top, the rich and the powerful? What was that one guy? He always is like in the middle of a newscast. Forget. I like watching a lot of his stuff, but he's a British guy. He doesn't mind criticizing the rich and powerful. I don't think it's funny to normalize abuse of children. It's not funny. Steve Harvey had a joke where he was like kicking the kids and keeping them in the pool. Get back in the pool. Get back in the pool. That'd be funny if it was, a king or a queen. No. Get back in the pool, Charles. No, Charles. Get back in the pool. And then it was even more because it was... It sucks when you see bullshit, but then it also sucks when you go to another place and you say, hey, bullshit was happening, and then they say, well, hell, bullshit happens here and we don't give a damn here either. Oh, wow. So anywhere I go, you guys are just okay, big tough guys, but if somebody just says their mother or father, they get to beat the holy fucking hell out of you. Okay, so then I get to be your daddy. No, I get to be your goddamn father. No, you got a problem with goddamn violence now? What do you mean? Why do you have a problem with fucking being humiliated and being hurt by me now, you piece of shit? You couldn't hear a goddamn word I had to fucking say, motherfucker, but now that you're feeling the exact pain that I had to feel, all of a sudden it's wrong, huh? All of a sudden it's fucking wrong. I mean, I guess once, she saw that the kid was dead, she did her best to try to get him to the hospital, calls the ambulance. They take too long. She gets in the car breaks down. And so, she felt remorse. He also has the feeding tube. So, like, on her behalf, she's 23, living in America where you have, I don't know how much social safety net she had, but I guess there's like WIC and some other programs, but, I wonder if she was a Christian. I wonder if the people that she did talk to was okay with abusing her. She was in a roommate. The roommate saw that she took the boy's head and slammed it into the wall. Did you say, don't do that? Did you say, stop, don't do that? That's not good. And, all these fucking tough guys going to sit there and, oh, no, you're wrong. You think this is right? You pieces of shit. You think it's okay to take a 2-year-old boy and fucking slam his head into the goddamn wall until he dies? I mean, thank goodness that they got arrested. Maybe the boy will get some justice. Who is the boy? Do we even get the boy's name? We don't even know. Oh, some 2-year-old boy, and they keep redacting that he was a boy. That's like the only thing I know about him. He had a name. I think that you shouldn't... I mean, RIP to who? You should at least give him a name. Give the boy a name. Fucking shit, he only was on this planet for 2 years. How about little baby Jesus Christ? So little baby Jesus is dead and gone. Little baby Martin Luther King Jr. Little baby Cromwell. Maybe it was Oliver Cromwell. Yeah. That boy's forever young. Could have come up with a cure for cancer, cure for AIDS, cure for a lot of things. Could have been a positive and progressive, productive member of society. Guess we'll never know now. Now we got to take care of this 23-year-old for another, 50 years? She didn't just kill the 2-year-old, she killed her own life. And the roommate and the mother, nobody could have told her that she was doing wrong. Nobody could speak up and tell her that she was doing wrong, huh? Until she went too goddamn far. Fuck, man.